I originally recorded this interview with Amanda Kingsley on May 12, 2022, with plans to release it in mid-June. We knew at the time that Roe v. Wade was in serious danger. I had no idea that my final release date would come just days after the U.S. Supreme Court would rescind, for the first time ever, constitutional rights. Our conversation covers a number of topics because this is a podcast about the business of running a coaching business. We do talk about abortion and life after abortion because coaching people who have chosen an abortion is what Amanda does. If you are in need of and do not have access to a safe abortion option, please visit the show notes where I have links and phone numbers that can help you. Welcome to Here's What I Learned. I'm your host, Jackie Hayes. I'm a certified online business manager and launch strategist for coaches craving a greater hustle-free impact. On this podcast, my guest and I pull back the curtain on running a successful online coaching business. So sit back, take notes, and enjoy. In today's episode, Amanda Kingsley and I are talking about finding your niche in coaching, life after an abortion, using a podcast to change lives, and being a badass feminist. Amanda is a certified feminist life coach and doula. She is the host of the Speaking Light into Abortion podcast and the author of What I Wish, 100 Love Notes to help you survive, come alive, and thrive after abortion. Let's just go ahead and get started. Why don't you tell me how it is you got into coaching and what that evolution has been like for you?
Oh, how far back do you want to go? No.
We can go back to birth. That's fine. One of my upcoming interviews. She's like, since I was a child.
So. I know, right? Thank you for having me here and asking me this question, because it's just fun. Like, how do I want to answer this today? And that's kind of what being a person and an entrepreneur is like. It's like, okay, what's my perspective on this today? I think the tools of coaching, the way I have been taught coaching and study coaching, were always very natural to me. And I even shamed myself for a long time for using them. Now I can see it's because I was like using them without permission to use them. Like, but I didn't know they were coaching tools at the time. I would just be the kind of person who would ask very inquisitive questions, would look at things from multiple perspectives. Like, the way coaching sees the world was always very natural to me. So my evolution into like officially calling myself a coach and being a coach and setting up a life of entrepreneurship happened more strongly after I was in network marketing for a while. There's some things in my life that I said I would never do. Network marketing was one of them. Turned out to be an absolutely incredible 3 years of my life. But what I loved most about it was the coaching. I didn't call it coaching at that time, but it was like, wait, what's going on in my team's brains? Like, what are they thinking that's making this hard for them? That's creating boundaries and barriers for them. So I didn't know that what I loved was coaching. I would have just called it leadership at that time. And then it just like pieces kept falling into place. The other thing I said I would never do was abortion. And that is how I landed in my particular niche of coaching. So I think in all of life, it's just like puzzle pieces lead us where we're meant to go. And I kind of followed the puzzle pieces to get to coaching. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. When you first started coaching, were you a general life coach? And then, you talked a little bit about how you ended up in the niche you're in. What was that transition like?
Yeah, I actually do offer some general life coaching right now. My niche is really on post-abortion support, but I offer general life coaching now. I did not from the start. I started right in, I graduated from the life coach school. It was when I found the tools that Brooke taught. Like, I just remember listening to the podcast, her podcast, and everything just kept clicking. I was like, oh, that explains it. Oh, that explains it. So I spent a year and a half probably just absorbing everything I could from her before getting trained by the life coach school. But when I was trained and I certified in March of 2019, part of the entrepreneur like track she headed us down was to choose a niche and stick to it for a year. So she really encouraged us to choose a niche. And at that point, I had had an abortion about 2 years prior, very, like I said, unexpected for me. And I knew I was meant to write about it or talk about it in some way, but I had no idea. Like, I hadn't even, in my 6 months of certification training, never even crossed my mind this would be my niche. And then as I graduated, it just like was, wow, okay, this is my niche. This is how and why that experience happened. This is how I'm going to honor that experience and be able to serve from it. So I'm going to say thanks to Brooke Castillo at the Life Coach School. She really, I'm air quoting, but like forced us to pick a niche. And I said, okay, I can do that for a year. And if it's an absolute disaster and everyone hates me and my house gets burned down, I'll be okay. It's only a year. And I will never stop doing this work. So I do have a lot of gratitude for her for encouraging me to really get specific about who I wanted to help and how I could best serve.
There's an abundance of general life coaches out there. There's an abundance of business coaches out there.
Yeah.
Your niche is in an area that people are uncomfortable openly talking about.
Yeah.
Now, granted, we're sitting here in May of 2022, and so the topic is on everybody's mind. Everybody has an opinion that's being expressed right now, but it's still not a topic that people like to talk about when it comes to their own personal experience, even though 1 in 4 will have an abortion. What is it like to coach and then promote yourself as a coach for such a area?
One of the things I like to teach in my coaching the most is that, like, I feel like our mission here as humans is to expand. It's just to like keep expanding, growing and expanding and widening our perspective. And the reason that feels relevant to your question is, as hard as it can get is as rewarding as it gets. So there's so much expansion. Like, it is hard sometimes. There are hateful comments. I have started recently using the block feature much more than I ever did before. It was scary at first to talk about, to have an opinion about, now my stance on abortion really is like, can we talk about the middle? Like, it's almost like we were given these two narratives. You're either pro-life, anti-abortion, or you're pro-choice, pro-abortion, and there's no room in the middle. Like, there's not a place for us in the middle to go like, I do believe in a woman's access and her right, or a person's access and their right to choose. And it can be really hard. It can be really sad. There can be shame even without regret. There can be regret without shame. Like, there's so many feelings. So as I really found my footing, and I just every day get more and more solid about my message and my service, but as I found my footing, I didn't know where I fit. Like, I didn't fit in either of those camps. I am very much pro-abortion and access to abortion, but I didn't fit in like the traditional narrative of it's just healthcare. Like, it is healthcare. Sometimes healthcare is a very emotional journey, right? Like, chemo is healthcare too, but it comes with like a lot of feelings. And I didn't feel like the traditional pro-abortion, pro-choice narrative made much room for the feelings. So I felt like when I started, everyone was going to be mad at me. Like, everyone was going to have something to say about my opinion. And they have, but I've really found a voice I feel good about. And yeah, my niche is pretty specific and it is pretty heated. Like, I don't know what the word is, right? It's pretty charged. But I think you can have that as a weight coach or a money coach or a business coach or anything coach. And I think in entrepreneurship and coaching in particular, it's just continuing to show up and show up and show up until you feel solid in your opinion about life and your like interpretation of how things can work.
You said that you have just started blocking people on Instagram. Yeah. When you first received negative comments, what was that like? And then how have you learned to process those, deal with those? You know, obviously now you're blocking, but what has that been like?
Yeah, well, I will say it wasn't really until about 2 years post-abortion that I started speaking out really publicly. So I'd done a lot of healing work. So by the time I had done my own healing work and was willing to really center my work around abortion, when the negative comments came in or the haters came in, I took on like the weight of the world. Like, it's my job, not necessarily to change anyone's mind or convince the hater that they're wrong. I didn't see that as my job, but I felt like it was my burden and my responsibility to show the people watching me what was possible. Like, I need to respond to this comment in a very loving and grounded way so people can see what's possible. And that's just, it's not worth, like, it's beautiful. Like, I can do that and it's lovely, but it's not a good use of my time. So I felt a lot of burden and a lot of like, I had done the healing work around like, oh my gosh, someone's calling me a murderer. Personally, before I showed up to talk about it as an entrepreneur. But I think when we start, especially in coaching world, when we start speaking out and sharing our message, like, we think we have to do it all, know it all, say it all right. And like, you had to let that go. I was like, now, like, even yesterday, some really, really anti-abortion account I had an interaction with. And I was like, this is not a good use of my time. I can help somebody process their sadness and their grief and their shame, or I can use my energy and give it to this woman who has no regard for actual human life. And so it's just like, I ask myself over and over and over again as an entrepreneur, who am I? How do I want to show up? Just as a human, like, who am I? How do I want to show up? And so the way I deal with the icky stuff is that, like, who am I? How do I want to show up? And I used to think like I wasn't allowed to block somebody. That would be like a rude way to show up. Now I'm like, what a good way to protect my energy. Block. So yeah,
definitely, definitely. I think it kind of comes back to also, if you've been socialized as a woman,
yes,
be nice.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
And blocking is not, quote unquote, nice way to deal with that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You were talking about the middle when it comes to the topic of abortion and, being the extremes, I guess you could say. I was listening to one of your episodes of the podcast where you were talking about imposter syndrome and the idea of if you've had an abortion and you have sadness or grief, not being a quote unquote good feminist.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
can you talk about that?
One. Yeah. We got on this episode and Jackie said, "Where'd you get that sweatshirt?" So my sweatshirt is black and it says "Badass Feminist" in white letters. And I don't think we want to be good feminists. I think we want to be badass feminists. I have a lot of clients who find themselves with a pregnancy they don't want to keep or can't keep for some reason. And they have aligned with that side of the narrative that I mentioned, which is like abortion is healthcare. It's an empowered choice, our body, our choice. And so there was almost an illusion in that it would be easy, right? That it would be, and then if I have grief, if I have shame, if I have regret, I must be a bad feminist because this is supposed to be empowering. This is supposed to be freedom. This is supposed to be relief. There's a lot of research that shows relief is the number one feeling people have after abortion, not just right away, but kind of for a long time. And I 100% believe that. It's good research. But my question is like, what's right underneath that? Like, does it matter if relief is number one, if what's behind that is like confusion, loss of identity? So when our identity is like the good feminist, and then we are confused because it didn't just feel like healthcare, there's a huge identity shift. Like, what does this mean? Even for me, I mentioned that network marketing really pushed me into coaching, but before that, I was a birth doula and went to midwifery school. So my world was like very much in women's health, birth care, postpartum care, everything to do with pregnancy. And I thought it was just like the right women's studies, that was my major, right? Like approach to be pro-choice. But it was just words. Like I didn't get it until I was pregnant and I had 3 kids and I didn't want to go back into the baby cave. And I was like looking at a pregnancy going like, oh, this is what pro-choice means. I have to actually make a choice, follow through with it, and believe in myself enough to heal afterwards, like have my own back. So I don't even remember what you asked or how I got down this train, but it's just a journey. This whole thing has been such a wild ride. And I don't think we really, when we're voting politically pro-choice, I think most of us don't really get what that means, like, unless we've experienced it. I mean, so many people literally vote Republican. And I'm not like anti-Republican, anti-Democrat, but I have lots of feelings. But a lot of people vote Republican strictly on the abortion issue. And I said to actually a friend who's very much a Trump supporter. Those words are hard to get out of my mouth, but he is a very special person. Like really, he really is. And we were on the sideline of a sports game yesterday and he said, he brought it up and I said, would you let your 13-year-old or your 16-year-old adopt, financially support and take care of a baby, or adopt and take care of a baby? And he said, well, if they were financially ready, I guess so. And I was like, and what if they're not financially ready? Like, you're going to force them to have a pregnancy? Like, the absurdity of it is like, that's what you're voting for. Like, really think about what you're voting for. This is nuts. And that's just one of a gazillion scenarios. Like, it doesn't you don't have to go to the extremes to make abortion right. Like, I wasn't in an extreme. I was in a healthy marriage. I had 3 healthy kids. We technically had enough money. We had a roof over our head. We had food on the table. Like, I cannot imagine being forced to carry that pregnancy. I can't.
Well, and I like how he's like, well, if she's financially ready, like, how many 16-year-olds actually are. But I think back, my son is 20 right now, and I got married at 20. And I'm like, oh my God, I was a child. What was I thinking? And yeah, and like my mom had me at 20, and I'm like,
Yeah,
again, I
right.
can't even imagine, because there's so much more that goes into it than just, do you have the money for it?
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
you, I mentioned, have a podcast. You
Mhm.
have your 140 some episodes in at this point, so you've
Yeah.
been doing this for a while. Why did you start a podcast, and how does that work with your coaching business?
So I asked you this morning, I maybe even was the second time I asked you, is this a video appearance or is this audio only? The reason this is relevant is in my network marketing career, I was very much taught the message. And I think a lot of people get this in coaching too, in any entrepreneurship. Just like overcome your fear, keep showing up, and it'll shift. And can I get on video? Yes. Do I get on video? Yes. Where does the most authentic, like inquisitive, inspirational me come from? Not video. It took me a little while to find my podcasting voice and confidence, but pretty much right away, I knew I could be so much of me in audio in this format. I love listening to podcasts. I love interviewing guests. I edit my own podcast, and I learn so much, not only in the like recording, but then when I go back and take show notes, like so much of who I am is because of how I podcast. Like it's such a great place to like speak my truth, keep learning, keep growing, keep expanding. Back to that word. It's not for everybody, and it does require a lot of work. Like my podcast, I don't know about you, but the way I do my podcast, it's probably a average of 3 hours per episode. And so it's a lot of time, it's a lot of commitment, but I love it, so it's worth it. And so I think in any business growth, you have to find the thing that works for you, and podcasting is how I attract about 9 out of 10 clients and followers, probably even more on the follower side. Like you said, it is a pretty unique niche. So for people brave enough to Google anything about abortion, they are often very grateful to find my work and my podcast. And that is how most people find me, is through the podcast.
You said that it takes you about 3 hours, which is true right now for me as well.
Yeah.
Although I just got on Instagram stories yesterday because I decided during Mercury retrograde to like start editing a bunch of episodes. And I'm like, okay, that took me actually 3 times longer than expected because, not a good timing for this. What is your process like for somebody who might be considering getting into podcasting? What is your process like? And then what are some choices you could make that would make it not as time consuming, but because you like the process, you've continued doing it?
Yeah. Well, I will also say when I started podcasting, I was thinking, how am I going to talk long enough to make an episode? This is going to be so hard. And so actually a really unique evolution of my podcast. I'm a writer. So I started by writing something, reading it out loud, and then talking with my guest about it. And I was like, oh, this is perfect. It was just like a really nice format for me. I'd never heard anyone else do it that way. It worked really well. But eventually, when I really did start finding my voice, like, you can't shut me up. And now some of the episodes are almost an hour long. And but even with podcasting, don't follow your own rules. Do whatever you want that makes you brave enough to get behind the mic and hit record. So I do not give my guests any questions. And most of my episodes are with guests. I do not, I don't have a strict format that I follow, and that's been really helpful for me, but a strict format might be helpful for other people. So I tend to batch record, and then they sit, just the recordings. I don't know. I just piece stuff together. I use iMovie actually to edit, and then I just export the audio. So that's where I do my whole intro outro thing. Sometimes there's those audios that you have to adjust for volume a lot. Do you have those?
Yes. Yes.
So that's fun.
One thing I've learned is you definitely record 2 audio tracks, the guest and you.
Okay.
So that you can adjust for that.
I have not figured that out yet. So.
Oh, yes. That's a Zoom setting. You definitely want to try that out.
I heard that you can do this. And this is a great example of how you can be 140 episodes in and just like, if you could see me, I'm recording with not AirPods. I've tried those. I've tried a mic. I've tried like so many equipment things. And the thing I always come back to is like the corded like iPhone headphones. So you can start a podcast with all the fancy schmancy stuff and rules and equipment. And, but you can also get 140 episodes in and still not know how to save 2 tracks of audio that Jackie just reminded you could do. So sometimes I spend a lot of time editing for sound. So there's an answer to your question. Like, that is definitely a place that I could save time if I were willing to just click that little box and figure that out. I have had times where do you use the transcription thing? Like Surface?
Yes, I use Otter. I just started using Otter because I was like, I need to have transcripts of each of my shows for accessibility. And then I got to reviewing, like, oh, wait a minute, I'm spending just as much time editing this. I'm like, maybe I'm just going to hire a VA to just do transcripts for me at this point.
Yeah. I love that you brought this up because I have a lot of guilt sometimes that I don't have a full transcription. I take very good show notes. I love when you can go to someone's page and see like minute 26:24. Here's what was said. Like, I love that. So that I do that. This is a great example of how like this accessibility issue it is a point of stress for me. I'm like, oh my gosh, you're a terrible person. You need to make this more accessible. You should have a full transcript. And I went through a little stage where I think I used Descript. And it was creating so much stress for me to manage these full transcripts. And I am not at a point in my business where I feel ready to hire a VA, but that is a great example of something I can outsource soon. I think what's important here is like, we can't show up and be the perfect entrepreneur always. And yes, there will be people we're not serving, and there will be people who don't like our work and people who do like our work. Like even now I'm like, oh my gosh, I feel so bad I don't have it. But like, I have to always balance, like, how much am I giving? and I cannot meet all the needs of everybody all the time. And I'm filling a huge hole in the reproductive well-being world. And I will get there. I have a commitment to do things like that. But when you start a podcast, like, do whatever works for you to get it out there and to help somebody. I have my, like, I could cry, but my podcast has literally saved lives. Like, there are people who did not want to keep living, who've listened to every single episode, and they are alive today because they listened. And so I can't let something like not having a transcription stop me from doing this. Like, I have 3 kids. I only have so many hours in a day. I do make a decent living, but it's been a long haul. Like, I am not overflowing in like wealth over here to, right? Like, I just have to be realistic. Like, if I can save someone's life getting it out there and somebody else is really mad at me that I don't have a transcript, like, this is being human. This is being human.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I completely agree. I didn't have transcripts for season 1. I committed to doing transcripts for season 2. And now I'm using this service that I'm like, now it's adding like 2 hours to every podcast. And that's 2 hours that I could be doing something, that, like you said, you could be producing a whole nother episode of a podcast that helps save somebody's life.
Yeah.
I could be helping a coach launch their program that could save somebody's life or make their life more joyful or whatever it happens to be.
Yeah.
So I think we have to ask ourselves, where is the balance in that? And so where is your time better spent? And you can't help everybody all the time. And if you can make it more accessible and that's accessible to you, great.
I love that language, and that's accessible to you. It's like, if I am burning myself out and stressing myself out and what I am trying to do is not sustainable, it's not in the highest good. It's like, my favorite question is, what is in the highest good? And I know there are things that I will grow with and change with and reach more people when the time is right.
I think of a very popular podcast especially among the coaching community, where she literally just started with the voice memo on her phone and just started talking into it.
Yep.
And now she's, multi-million-dollar business owner and reaches, I don't even know how many downloads she has of her podcast, but you just start.
Yeah, you just start. I recorded my first episode in a hotel room on the voice memo after I spoke at a coaching event about like using the word abortion in front of 500 people on stage, many of whom were quite religious. And I had a massive vulnerability hangover, and I went back to the hotel room and I recorded my first episode, and that's how I started.
And there you go.
Yep.
You said that your podcast has saved lives, which I think is incredibly important. And I think people need to know that whether it's their podcast or their Instagram post or their blog post or whatever it happens to be, you may be completely changing somebody's life. You may be saving somebody's life, and you may never know because they may never reach out to you. And so it's important to just show up and do the thing.
I have a client right now who followed me for a year. And I don't think I'll ever forget the consult call with her, because she was just so grateful that she had access to some resources that was going to let her pay me. And she just couldn't wait to give me money. Like, and when I sent her the invoice, I just had this clear knowing that I'd already provided her the full amount of value and more. And this was just like, and now I'll pay you just for extra. Like, and I thought, that is the feeling I want forever in my business, that I have already given the value and we are coaching to just up the game. Like, this is just, the coaching is like the icing on top, but I've already changed the life.
I think with something like a podcast, especially, or maybe on YouTube or, live pop-up sessions that coaches do, it's such a great way to create a sense of safety for people who might be considering working with you. They get to see you, or they get to hear your voice. They get to see what it's like when you interact with others is so much more than what you can necessarily get from, a 30-second reel
Yeah.
or something along those lines. And I think with that client, you provided a year's worth of safety and comfort and growth for her.
Yeah. In my niche, I think it's really important that we can discreetly absorb information. I think a lot of people follow my work and they never click like, they never comment, because that immediately ties them to abortion, and they have so much fear about people finding out. So I think that is another reason podcasting for me has been so good, is they listen when they're walking, they listen when they're driving. People fall asleep to my podcast because they just it is their church. And so, yeah, it's like knowing your niche too, is really important for my niche to be able to build trust with me. I get on consults now and they're like, "It's so weird hearing your voice." I can't believe I'm hearing your voice. You still sound the same. I'm like, yep, I do. But yeah, my audience really values the ability to absorb that information on a walk, on a drive, with headphones in, laying in bed, or when they're doing the dishes, just trying to take care of their family and they can barely get through. So yeah, every business has its ideal platform for reaching people.
It just takes some trial and error to figure out what it happens to be for you.
Yeah. Google SEO is one that's been on my list for a long time. I should probably just take a bunch of money and pay someone to massively SEO my business, because I think for me personally, that's somewhere that I know I could really improve and have not taken action to do so.
Again, you only have so many hours in the day to... Yeah. I think we all, especially as business owners, have a long list of things. And we also probably have a whole Google Drive folder of free courses that we have downloaded from somebody and that we will someday maybe get to.
Someday maybe.
So. Well, is there anything that we haven't talked about that you would like to bring up or discuss?
I just think I love my niche because I think it's such a strange and interesting way. Some of my favorite moments are when I get on a call to be coached, and it's usually about something business related, sometimes family related. And then we tease it all out. And the thing I'm struggling with is the exact same thing my clients are struggling with, even though I have no struggle with my abortion anymore. Every once in a while I get a tiny twinge of sadness, but it's that kind of sadness that's so much love. I don't have shame. I don't have regret. I don't have guilt. I've done all that work, and still I'm human. So I do have shame. I do have guilt. I do have regret. I do have grief. And so I just love those moments when you realize that everything you teach is exactly what you need, even though it doesn't quite it just is. It's just being human. So I guess what I'm trying to say is take all those opportunities to see what's going on in your own life. And even if it doesn't seem related to what you talk about in your content, it is. It is. So if I'm struggling with shame about something else, I can use that. I can use that to kind of transfer onto, wait, if this is what shame feels like for me, what does that language look like for my client? Because it can be hard when you've done the work and you kind of forget what it's like to be so deep in it, right? When my clients come to me, sometimes I'm like, oh, right. This is what it was like back then. And I can, we're coaches, so we navigate that all the time, but using other opportunities to feel shame to be able to really connect with my audience. It's a great thing to do.
I like that opportunity to feel shame.
Yeah, I mean, I feel it plenty as a mom, as a wife, as a community member. It's like whatever your clients are feeling, you're feeling it too. It just might just have to get creative to realize how you're feeling it.
Where can everybody find you?
I'm Amanda Starr Kingsley everywhere. STAR. It is actually my middle name, sort of hippie parents. So that's my website, Amanda Starr Kingsley. I work mostly through Instagram, and my podcast is called Speaking Light into Abortion.
Great. I hope everybody comes and finds you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you.
And that's it for another episode of Here's What I Learned. Show notes and transcripts can be found at JackieHayes.online. While you're there, be sure to subscribe to my emails to receive access to my free launch resource library. Inside the library, you'll find all the resources I use with my Launch Strategy VIP Day clients to create their strategic, intentional, and hustle-free launches. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to follow and leave a review. Until next time, stay curious.